Hi, everybody. This is Rick here, and this week I wanted to talk about some of life's biggest secrets. So, as you ponder the great mysteries and the great meanings of life, what are some of the biggest mysteries that come to you? I'm going to discuss two of the biggest mysteries that I can think of: fried chicken and soda. So, when we think about these two products, they both have a lot of mystery surrounding them. Remember, KFC has the secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices, and Coca Cola has that secret formula that's locked away in a vault somewhere. And these two huge mysteries, I want you to contemplate what would have happened if Colonel Sanders and John Pemberton had not shared their secrets even a little. What if they had demanded to stay in control and to be the only one who keeps the keys? Well, KFC would still be a gas station fast food joint. That's what it started as. Colonel Sanders was a gas station owner, and as an added service, he would serve people food that he had learned to make literally on in his own living room at his dining room table. And John Pemberton was a pharmacist in Atlanta, and he could have invented this drink to give you pep and kept it to himself. And if you wanted it, you would have to go to this little pharmacy, a little soda fountain in Atlanta to get it. And these empires never would have been built, and we never would have been able to enjoy their food. Yes, both of these recipes are still secrets, but they obviously have been shared with quite a few people to scale up to the international volume that both of them make. So, what I want to talk about today is exactly that, about letting go of some things that you think you are the only one who can do. This is a part of the ongoing series, 10 Tips for Life Efficiency, although we're going to end up doing more. My name is Rick Chatham. I am an MBA. And the whole point of this series is to give you an easy button. What I want to do is teach you to get more done in life by being lazy. As far as my background goes, I'm a proud Rotarian. During the week, I'm a commercial real estate agent. I work in property management, sales, and leasing. On the weekends, I work as a motivational speaker, and I'm also a proud husband and dad. That's my awesome family right there. So this week, we're talking about the section, Don't Be Invaluable. And there are two places where being invaluable can subvert your success. That's in your career and then in your personal life. How this came to my attention was in grad school. One of the jobs I was supposed to do was go out and interview CEOs. And I would talk to the CEOs about what made people successful. Invariably, I would be told of someone who was really, really good at their job, a great assistant, a great store manager, something like that. And I would always ask, well, first of all, what makes that person great? Oh, they can do everything. They anticipate the needs before you need them. They run such a tight ship. And then I would ask, well, if they're so great, when are they going to get promoted? Oh, well, they can't really get promoted. There's nobody else who can do what they do. And therein lies the problem. When you get too invaluable, you also get to the point where you are unpromotable. In fact, I was told by my grad school mentor, Dr. Germanian, about a story that he saw repeated over and over, and that's with your assembly line workers. And typically on the assembly line, you'll get someone who is better, 20% more efficient than anyone else. And so that person, eventually, they pay them more because they're producing more widgets than anyone else. And at some point, they hit the end of the pay band. And so the boss, the manager, has to figure out, okay, well, this person's fantastic. They're producing 20% more than anyone else. How do we reward them? Well, we promote them. So this is how it can backfire the other way. You promote this person who's really good at making widgets to a manager, and you say, okay, now teach other people to do what you do. Well, this person's really good at working on the assembly line, building cogs, but maybe they're not such a great manager. And now instead of being on the assembly line where they're doing what they're great at, you have them in meetings, management meetings, forecasting meetings, which they're terrible at. And now your assembly line went from being super fast to you just took your best worker off of it and your assembly line slows down. And what invariably happens is that this person who was the best assembly line worker uh, gets blamed for the assembly line slowing down because they're not on it anymore. And then they end up getting fired. So there's a whole infrastructure issue where people not only make themselves invaluable, but the ones who are invaluable in their place, we don't have any way to recognize or promote them other than uh, um, a step up in the hierarchy. So going back to not getting chained in, there are basically two reasons that a person's going to make themselves invaluable. And that is either insecurity or perfectionism. So let's talk about insecurity. I am a perfect example of this. In high school, I was in the show choir, which surprisingly in my school was actually one of the more popular groups. So I was pretty excited to be in it. But as soon as I got in there, I was really insecure about my voice, really insecure about my abilities. So I made myself invaluable by taking over the setup of our sound equipment. In fact, there was a guy who already did it. He was fine at it, but I pushed my way in, pushed him out of the way, and I started doing it for every show we had. I would set everything up, tear everything down. I became extremely invaluable to the show choir because I became the only person who knew how to correctly set up the sound equipment. The problem was after our shows were over, all the other high schoolers would go split and have milkshakes or, whatever high schoolers do, and I would be stuck at the venue for another 45 minutes tearing down the equipment. I missed out on a huge amount of socialization time with my peers because of my insecurity. I couldn't be kicked out of the group because I was the only one who knew how to set up the equipment, but I also never really was part of the group because I never allowed myself to just go and spend time one on one. I hid behind needing to be invaluable to the group. And this is a really common thing with people in this sort of insecure mode. You'll see these in work or office situations with the person who has to have the alarm code and they never will share it under the guise of security. But more people could be trusted with it. So they always have to be the last ones to leave or they always have to be the first ones there. You might have someone who has network passwords. So they are the only person who can unlock the printer or print in color or different things like that. Or maybe the club treasurer, who is the only one who knows how to use QuickBooks. So they're the only one who can do the financials for your club. You see this everywhere. The idea behind this is that if I am so invaluable, if I am so good at this job and I have all the network passwords and I am the only one who can do this task, I can never be fired. The problem is you can still be fired. You will be fired regardless. My best friend Anna is a great example of this. She worked at a job for years and eventually she got really good at the evaluations that she was doing. But eventually she was asked, as a lot of people have been, you need to train your replacement. We've got someone flying in internationally. And Anna had two choices. She either could share what she did and become less valuable, or she could hold on to her information and not train people. And she actually did that. She actually tried as long as she could to not really share the information. Guess what? She got fired anyway. They were looking to change things. I've had situations where I literally have been the only one with the network password. They'll bring someone in who can figure out the network password. You're going to get fired anyway. If you are the only person who can do that thing, you will get sacked. So Don't think that being invaluable is going to make yourself fireable. In fact, as a store manager at a Starbucks, I can tell you the people who shared their knowledge and trained other people were the ones I was much more likely to keep because they were more valuable to me. So that covers insecurity. What about perfectionism? I have seen so many people, whether it's in my Rotary Club or at work, just everywhere in life, nitpick over the smallest things. And I'm thinking especially in advertising, newsletters, postcards, things that go out. I've seen people debate for hours, days, months, the exact wording of a certain thing. And sure, if you're doing a Coca Cola marketing campaign, you probably need to do that. But a lot of it is let's nitpick over this graphic that's going to be in our Christmas show. And people will argue and debate over it. You know what? It doesn't matter. No one's going to know the difference. So, how much time do you spend? I've heard people in my own office arguing over brochures that some other brokers will look at, maybe a couple hundred potential clients will look at, and you want the basic information there, but they're arguing what color should this bar be, and should the bar be thicker or smaller? And in the end, as long as the brochure looks good, it looks good, and you're probably not a graphic expert anyway. So the idea behind perfectionism is if somebody else can do that thing 80% as well as you can, you should probably let them do it. Really focus in on the tasks that only you can do. Now, yeah, something might not live up to your standards. Now you need to figure out what is important to live up to your standards and what isn't important and unchain yourself. So ask yourself number one, does it matter? And number two, if there's somebody else who can do it 80% as well as I can, then I should probably offload it. So the challenge for you this week, I will get to in just 1 second. But first, I want to pose a little question to you. There are two problems with drinking toilet water. Those two problems are number one and number two. All right, moving on to the challenge for the week. As you go through your week, I want you to start looking at the tasks you do and asking yourself, is this something I need to be doing? Am I the only one who can do this? Can I train someone else to do this? Can I offload this work? In other words, be lazier, do less stuff, be more efficient. As I have the last few sessions, I want to do a shout out to my personal coach, Jarvis Leverson. He calls himself the morning hero. He has a fantastic program. I do not do these shout outs for anything other than that this has worked for me. I don't get paid for this. I didn't get Jarvis's permission to do this, but his system works. I'm not sure what promotions he has going right now. I think he has some free coaching. You can check it out at themorninghero.com. I highly, highly, highly recommend him. All right. Thanks so much for joining me. If you want to join these sessions, we do them live every Saturday, 6 a.m. It's a great way to start your weekend with a little bit of motivation. And look at my social media channels for the link. If you're getting this recorded, that's great too. Please feel free to reach out to me at my cell phone or my email address. Let me know how these challenges are going for you, feedback, ideas, things I could have done better. I love it. And I always end with a picture of my daughter because she is my inspiration. Thanks so much for joining me and hope to see you live or on the recording next week.